Hi everyone, thanks so much for joining me for this very fast review of an introduction to project-based learning. My name is Christy Day and I will be working with you on December 12th at your staff meeting where we'll be diving a little bit deeper into developing project-based learning units. Right now, the education field is facing a challenge. How do we, as educators, prepare the classes of 2021 and 2022, the class years of our current 7th and 8th graders, for the world of tomorrow? We know that when they leave the safety net of Fairfax County Public Schools, their world is going to look very different from what we know today. But we can't quite predict exactly what they will need in order to be successful, like educators of the past were able to do for us. Because of this, we need to help our students become problem solvers with a wide range of skills that they can apply in many different ways. When Jeff Lynette was here in October, he introduced project-based learning, and you looked at how PBL can help us get to the heart of the learning model, which is to help all students develop the attributes of the portrait of a graduate. You looked at how project-based learning is a delivery model for core content and portrait of a graduate skills. You also saw how project-based learning is a way of synthesizing all of the buzzwords that we're currently hearing about that aren't just extra things to do, but help foster students' 21st century thinking skills. Things like having a growth mindset, exploring STEAM, blended learning, literacy across the curriculum, inquiry-based instruction, and performance-based assessment. Additionally, in order to further grasp project-based learning, you looked at how PBL differs from doing projects. And you saw how students benefit from acting as practitioners by producing things that exist and are actually useful in the real world. You also saw that in PBL, students learn the standards through doing the project, not practicing applying them after isolated learning has already happened. You examined how, at the most basic level, you can take a traditional project, create a driving question for it that encapsulates the standards, and start there. You begin by asking students what they need to know about the project, and then you do what you've always done. You also looked at how the PBL truck is driven by core content. From here, we asked 3 guiding questions. Who in the real world uses this content? What do they do with it? And what can kids do that's similar? By framing our PBL around these questions, kids are able to act as practitioners and move toward expertise. Once we start with the end in mind, it's then time to craft our driving question. This one question has a variety of purposes and really is the main key to the success of the PBL. First, a driving question is not Googleable. It's open-ended and complex. There are lots of right answers and lots of ways to get to them. The driving question reminds kids why we're doing this, why we're working on this project each and every day. It reframes the content standards. It initiates inquiry, captures and communicates purpose, and ultimately creates interest. Driving questions can take on a few different forms. They might include a debatable issue or an intriguing topic. They might specify a product, task, or problem to be solved, or they could include a real-world role or activity that the students need to take on. Once we have the bookends in place, we know where students need to get, and we know how they're going to start them on that path, it's time to think about the process of what happens in between. This is what we're going to focus our time on during our December 12th staff development time. So the goal for Stone Middle School is for each department to develop at least one project-based learning unit this year. In order to use our time on December 12th best, I'm going to ask you to do a few things beforehand. First, decide what content you want to cover. Remember those 3 important questions. When you think about your content, think about who in the real world uses it, what they do with it, and what can kids do that's similar. If you have content that really isn't real world applicable, or maybe that is very, very specialized, this might not be the best content to write your PBL unit around. Instead, choose something that really has a real world connection. Also, another point to start at might be to think if you have projects already developed that could be refocused a little bit and turned into a project-based learning unit. Remember, it is called project-based learning. It often starts at the heart of a project. Once you've decided what content you want to cover, try writing a driving question for it. If you need some help with that driving question, you can check the project-based learning database for inspiration, see what other teachers have done, and see if you could adapt something or be inspired to create your own. I'm also including some resources that will be shared in the email where you got this video link. You'll need to be signed into your FCPS Google account in order to access them because they're going to be shared through Google, but you might be able to use those for help crafting your question as well. Don't feel like you need to have this done perfectly. We'll definitely look at this together on the 12th, but if you come with a starting point, we'll be able to make progress faster. If you have any questions or you want support before the December 12th day, please go ahead and reach out to me or to Jeff Lynette. We're glad to answer your questions, connect with you virtually, or even come in during a CT planning time before or after school if you'd like some more in-depth support. Thanks so much for taking these last few minutes to revisit project-based learning. We look forward to working with you on December 12th.